Hello, everyone, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I love to have the opportunity to really sit back and talk about marketing with many of you, at least on a monthly or every other month basis. This is my opportunity to kind of share ideas, recommendations, and especially in today's session, I want to talk about some of the things I'm seeing as far as marketing in different brands through different organizations and individuals out there. I think at times we're all looking for either, who does things well. We're looking for ideas and inspiration. And what I hope today's session does is give you kind of a glimpse into that. One thing as we're getting started here, when I talk about kind of this concept of, bright lights, this roundup of vegan brands, what I'm really trying to do is pull a few brands out and feature and highlight things that I think you should be aware of, things that you should be thinking about, things that you should be thinking about when you are really expressing your brand, whether you're doing it from a sales side. So we'll talk about things that are driving sales, revenue, and so forth. But we'll also talk about it from brand awareness. And also, I want many of you today to take away ideas around how to be you and more authentic in your marketing. So, not everything will be, so sales based, but I do want you to get a little bit of everything from today's webinar because I think it's a huge opportunity for you to maybe reshape things, or if you're feeling frustrated about your marketing, maybe some of these ideas will kind of release some creative ideas and help you reconnect with your marketing efforts. For anyone who's watching this for the first time, or maybe the first time you ever joined us for a webinar, this is something I absolutely love. My background is in marketing. I've been vegan for years, and my really passion is around helping other vegans get out there, whether they have a nonprofit, whether they're an activist, whether you're running a business for profit, whether you're a service-based business or physical product business. What I want to do is help many of you get your dream business off the ground and ultimately turn it into a profitable venture or successful venture, depending on what that success looks like. So, therefore, in these webinars, we talk a lot about marketing and techniques and ideas. And I want to make sure that when you kind of leave these webinars, you leave full of not just what you could do, but how you can do it. I'd love to show examples, and today is going to be one of those. Now, there's all types of things that inspire all of us out there. And it's so hard when I put together a session like this and I start featuring brands that people want me to do like a top 10 list. Like, who's the top 10 brands on Instagram or in email marketing or on YouTube? And I want to set a little bit of expectations today. This isn't about who's the top brands. This isn't about me ranking anyone or anything. And the reason I bring that up is because my goal today is really to help you. My goal today is really help people who are coming to these webinars, watching these webinars, and for you to be inspired, just like I get inspired from what work I see out there. So I'm not pulling out all the big, big, big brands that you may know and love, or maybe even some of the accounts that many of us know and love, because it's not about who's the biggest or who's the most recognized. Really, what I want to do today is get you to think differently about your marketing. So I'm going to show you different brands, maybe even brands you haven't heard of before or you haven't been following before. And what I hope today does is not only get you interested in how that brand is using different techniques to really further their message, but also how you can identify your next marketing inspiration. Because at times we all get bogged down by it all, by the work, by the responsibility of running businesses and brands, and just from everyday life. And what I want you to be able to do is when you are looking for help, when you are thinking that you want to try something and you want to find examples of it, I want you to be able to find those examples. I think at times what can happen in social media is we kind of can see this almost like poster version of what an account should look like, or a kind of model version of this is the way to do it. And yes, it's great to see that there are standards out there, but what I also want you to realize when you're thinking about your marketing is that you don't have to fit into a box. you can be successful. Many of these brands out here are large brands, successful individuals that have carved and maybe really created their own path through marketing. And that's what I want you to take away. I want you to not try to fit into one box. What I want you to do is define your own playground and use inspiration of other people that have found their way to help you find your way, find your inspirations. All right. So let's talk about one of the brands that I've been checking out lately. Now, I've been checking out this brand just in general because I like to just check out vegan products and services. But I also want to show you this brand as an example of something that I'm seeing consistently through other brands. So some of these examples, this isn't the only brand that's doing it. There's a ton of different people that are doing it. I just grabbed maybe one of the most recent examples of it because if you want to participate in or see what I'm talking about, I try to pull up examples of things that happened over the last few months. So that way you can check it out as well. It's not something from like 2 years ago or last year. Now, one thing I'm starting to see in marketing, especially for physical products. Now, this can work for food products. This can work for, beauty products, home care, cleaning products. This can work for even things like books. So anything, that you sell physically. What they're trying to do is create these more try it campaigns, meaning try it that first time. What happens with a new brand or a new product that comes out from a brand, people are curious about it, but they're not always ready to invest. Sometimes they're a little bit, shy, maybe from a budgetary standpoint. Maybe they're concerned about the investment, or honestly, maybe they bought something before and it just wasn't good. It just wasn't what they expected. So, what I'm seeing a lot of brands do, and if you have a physical product, whether you're on a large scale, so you're in stores, you're in your regional natural food store, or you're at farmers markets, what a lot of people are doing is they're empowering people to try their brand and creating almost a rebate program. What I like about this rebate program is it's a program that can be managed outside of a standard rebate program. What a lot of these brands are doing is you just go on their website, type in your phone number, type in your email address. Sometimes it's both, sometimes it's or. And what happens is they will ask you to purchase the item. Once you purchase the item, as long as it's being purchased from one of their approved vendors or locations, you submit the receipt. And when you submit the receipt, they will reimburse you through PayPal or Vimeo. I bring this up because this is a way that big and small brands can participate. I know sometimes when I show these examples, people kind of feel like, yeah, that's cool, but I'm not at that scale. And this is something to me that can be done even if you are a pop up, even if you are doing farmers markets. If you have a physical product, giving people the option to purchase that item, or especially if you are the one doing it, giving people an option to put their name or email address in and be able to download a coupon that they can redeem at your next farmers market event is a great way to build your email list or build your text messaging list if you're doing marketing. But it also creates a way for people to discover. So if someone's been coming to the farmers market for weeks on end buying a product and you want to introduce a new product, why not post a campaign like this on your social media, email out a campaign like this, set up a website for something like this, and create your own rebate program? So this is something that I think works really well for brands. And I want to make sure for many of you that are out there trying to launch new products and services or launch things new, think about some type of rebate program so that people can explore and try it the first time and have some type of way of getting a rebate. Okay. Now, option number two that I want to talk about are blended accounts. One thing that I hear a lot of times when people are doing marketing and they're struggling with is being able to bring together multiple ideas, being able to bring together multiple things that you're passionate about. Maybe you're like, okay, I have a business or a brand, or I have an organization, but I also want to show activism. I want to show food. I want to show other people in the community and what they're doing. I want to also have maybe some flair and style. And one brand I think does a very good really kind of blend of that is Veganuary. Now, there's a ton of things I love about Veganuary. There's a ton of things that they do. And yes, I really do like the way they kind of procure their social media. But one thing that I really kind of stands out for me here, and especially I think this is going to be near and dear for many of you out there, is that they found a way to be able to bring multiple topics together, to not just feel like they have to pick one side of them. And even though they're an event kind of based brand, meaning their big time of year is in January where they're doing their major promotions and campaigns and so forth, what they're also able to do is throughout the year is support. Now, I don't want to make it sound like they're not doing anything else other than what's happening in January. They actually do a lot of other things throughout the year, but what they're known for is Veganuary. And because they're known for that, one thing I think they do very well is being able to blend the idea of having a large scale event, a large scale kind of posting plan, while also having an account that can support different concepts and ideas throughout the year. So if you're struggling to bring those things together, I want you to look at this account for inspiration. Because what I think that I'd probably say if I had to pick like the number one thing I really like about their account is how much they feature other people in the community. You can see an example here where there's a quote in here, and the quote, says, "It's 2023. We really need to stop associating protein with meat." Love it. Great quote. And what happens is you can click on that and that actually turns into a reel for you. But what I love about it is it's actually not from Veganuary. It's actually from another individual, another activist out there. And I think he's just amazing. And what I want you all to kind of see here is that when you have an account, your social media account doesn't have to be great just because of you. Your account can be great because you showcase and host other people on your account, because you allow them to express their ideas, their perspective, and by featuring their videos, your account can become very diverse and very community based. And I really feel like Veganuary does a great, has a great approach, and it does it in a very successful way. Now, all the accounts that I'm showing you today, I'm either going to have a little box at the bottom so you can see their social media profile and you can jump over and follow them, or I will put their website in here. All right. Another brand I really like is Cashier Moon. And I really discovered this account fairly recently. My niece actually introduced me to them, and I've just been following some of their marketing. And what I like to do in these sessions is not only show you big accounts, like Veganuary is probably, a huge account when you think of a big account, but I also want to show you brands that are maybe a little bit smaller scale in social media, but how they're still bringing excellence into their marketing, how they're doing things in a very unique way while they're small, that once they become big, as they grow and their presence expands, many of these same things will apply. And one of the things that they're doing well, they're doing this actually right now. I love to use examples of things that are happening kind of as we speak. So sometimes I substitute brands because I see someone doing it and I want you to be able to see it as well. Is they're opening a storefront. They're going to have a physical location to sell their items. And by having that physical location, they're going to be doing events all week. I know it's probably a little bit small, but in that bottom left corner, you can see that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They have events planned all this week, which I think is great because as they're working their way up to a soft opening, as they say, what they're doing is building buzz. They're teaching, they're hosting live events on their Instagram account. But what they also are doing is they are having a giveaway. So, one thing that happens often when we do marketing is that we either do a lot offline marketing or a lot of online marketing. We don't always coordinate those campaigns. We don't always set it up so that if a person is local, meaning they can walk into your store, walk into your physical location, visit you at a farmer's market, or see you at an event, that's great. But why not also create excitement and buzz for people who are online, because they can still support your brand? Many of their customers can still buy their products. Many of their customers who are maybe not in the local area can actually still feel the excitement of this kind of soft opening that's coming and participate. So always think about how you can blend together that online and offline kind of actions so that people can participate. And therefore, your marketing is no longer kind of partitioned. It becomes a kind of coordinated campaign that supports everything. Now, it may feel like, oh my goodness, a coordinated campaign sounds crazy, like a lot of work. And you may be like, well, this is just me doing some of the marketing or me and my partner doing the marketing. It doesn't mean that this campaign has to be huge. It doesn't mean it has to have 20 or 30 different options to it. It just means it has to be thought out. So often, when I build a coordinated campaign, is I sit down and say, okay, what are all the things I'd like to do? And then I sharpen up that list and say, okay, what are the things I have time to do? What are those things that I can work on? And realizing that anytime you do a campaign, even though, this opening they're happening, they're not going to have an opening all the time, but they will be doing marketing all the time. So therefore, even the ideas that you come up with, like 20 ideas of how I can do this kind of marketing and that kind of marketing, this type of coordinated campaign, you don't have to do them all in one shot. You can start with one or two, and then the next time you do a campaign, you add another layer. The next time you do a campaign, you add another layer. And there, your complexity of what you're able to do is something you grow into over time, as opposed to trying to do like a campaign that has five different components online and offline and trying to make it all work. Remember, this is a journey you're on. So therefore, when you're building your marketing, when you're doing things, you want to build a foundation that you can build upon, as opposed to thinking you're launching the best campaign you've ever done in your entire life and the best campaign ever heard of in life. The idea is you are going to start with one, start with two, and start to bring these things together. So ultimately, you have this dynamic marketing mix in your fingertips. Okay. All right. Next brand, individual, person that I want to talk about is, the Gut Health MD. I really, really, really enjoy his account for a couple of different reasons. The biggest thing that I like about his account, and I think you should be thinking about when you're looking for inspiration, is how do you pull people into your discussion? How do you pull people into your orbit? When you're doing marketing at times, what can happen is either you can be like talking at people or talking with people. People can feel like they're a part of your conversation. And what I think he does a great job of is really inviting people in, especially on a topic that isn't something that not everyone wants to talk about publicly. There is something that, when you think about your GI tract and you think about digestion and all of those things that come with it, whether it's a health issue or a challenge that you don't always think of it as a conversation you want to have on social media and a conversation you would have in the public. You think of it as like behind the doors chit chat. But what I believe he's done is he's kind of created an environment where people can relax. And there's a couple of different ways he's done this. So anyone out there that has a topic that you teach, if you have a perspective that you have out there, if you're trying to get people to change their minds, change their habits, one thing I want you to think about doing in your social media marketing is creating a high post. He has this post that says hi IG, and literally it's like saying hello to the folks in Instagram. And what happens is, I think many of us make this mistake, and I'm actually going to test this theory on one of my accounts and probably even one of my client accounts. Because I just really, really like this. And I think it's a great, great way to make sure that people know who you are. Often, when someone comes to your social media account, they're just looking at that little short bio. And that gives them a little bit of a sense of who you are, what you offer, what your service is, and so forth. But it doesn't always mean that they get the full picture. And what can happen is, depending on a person comes to your Instagram account, they're just going to see your last couple of posts. They're just going to see what's up there. And that may not be the full representation of who you are, what you offer. So instead of letting people pull the pieces together, think about doing a reel that you drop in. This one's a pinned post, which I absolutely love pinned posts in Instagram. And this allows a person to have almost like start here kind of button that says, okay, this is me saying hi to you. And what's great about it is he breaks down and explains who he is. He breaks down his credentials. He talks about his book. He talks about the work he does. And what I really believe could be a great asset to many of you out there in your accounts is creating a space where people can understand who you are, who your brand is, and how to interact with it. Now, in addition to that, he does a lot of reels. And what I really love about the way he does reels is when reels came out, many people were just doing graphics. They were just putting images out there and people were loving them. They're loving videos because they're short, they're easy to digest. But when you start to look at a feed or when you start to look at multiple images, especially when you're doing videos and if it's a photo of you, post one, reel two, reel three, and reel four can look exactly the same because you're wearing the same clothes or you're in the same environment. And what can happen is if you're trying to get people to click on those videos, it's hard to pull them into it. It's hard to drive engagement. And one thing I've seen that a lot of people are doing, once again, this is something I'm seeing in a lot of accounts. I'm just using this as an example account, is people are starting to put that overlay text on top of the photo. So instead of it being a graphic as your cover image, what he's doing here is he's putting text on it so you can quickly know what that video is about. And if you're going to be kind of brought deeper into his methodology, into what he recommends, you can quickly look and go to his like Reels page and Instagram, and you'll know which videos to click on. And I think this is very, very helpful. And I think it's something that can be a light touch so it doesn't feel so graphic heavy or curated, but it creates clarity of what each video really stands for. And it helps those videos kind of pop on the page so you can quickly identify maybe where you want to go next. Okay. All right. Let's talk about another account. Another account I really, really like that gets me excited. And I just think she has a very signature style, is the Korean vegan. Now, if you haven't seen her content, if you haven't seen the website, YouTube videos, I highly recommend taking a look. Now, there's a couple of reasons that I recommend this account. Now, this is a very popular account. Many of you may know it well. And what I don't want you to take away from some of these things is that I don't want you to look at these accounts and be like, oh my goodness, the only way for me to be successful is to be like someone else. I don't want you to come back or take away from today's session is to like do what other people do or just take their ideas and just do it too. Remember, this is supposed to be inspiration. This is supposed to be something that helps you find you. And what I like about what she does is she really focuses on storytelling. Now, this is really something that she just artfully does. She just does it in a very, almost feels like effortless way that it's so impressive to watch. But what I really like about what she does with her posts and where I think her content stands out is when you start to watch a couple of her reels, watch a couple of her videos, not only she create a place to be inspired because of the photos and the imagery that she's showing you, whether it's the food that she's making, whether she's showing photos of individuals in her life or experiences that have happened. What she also does is by telling these stories, she creates a place where you feel either understood, you feel like you belong, you feel like you can relate to her story because her story isn't just about like what is xanthan gum. Her story isn't just about why you should eat vegan or plant-based foods. Her stories are really about experiences and things that have happened to her in her life. They talk about what were aha moments. And therefore, when you're listening to this story that she's really pulling you into, you start to feel a sense of camaraderie. You start to almost feel like you're in a place that sees you because you can see her. And what I want you to do is think about what piece of your marketing allows you to do that. Like I said, I don't want you to go in just complete storyteller mode. I don't want you to say, well, wow, this works here. I'm just going to start telling stories all day long. What I want you to do is think about, do you allow people in? Do you allow people to come into your orbit, see you, hear you, understand you, and connect with you? And the one thing I think she does really well is while there's plenty of video footage of her on camera, there's plenty of video footage of her with the camera kind of on her, but she does a lot of voiceovers. So she records or edits a piece of content together. And then over top of that content tells the story. And I really think a lot of people forget the art of the voiceover and forget how it can be a unique way of showing people kind of the what showing people one thing but covering another topic. So you get the opportunity to kind of have a focal point but also have a topic that you can discuss. And that focal point and topic don't have to be 100% the same. I think a lot of times when we do reels and we do videos, we think like, if this is what I'm talking about, this is what I need to be showing. And I think she does an amazing job of showing you one perspective, of showing you one thing and being able to talk about a very diverse slate of information. So, if you're trying to bring in that more aspect to your marketing, I highly recommend that you take a look at her space. The other thing I want to talk about when we think about marketing, sometimes it's about like, how do we do more? What else can we do? Can we do that? Can we add that? And I like this example because this account is using white space to create room. If you think about a feed, like look at this one as an example, see how the images are all like right against each other. That's the way an Instagram, kind of profile will look like. Same thing here. And what um, Bryant has done here is he's created a different feel to his profile by using space, by using just white space. And what's happening is content is being cropped in a way and he's putting white space around it. So when you come to his feed, it gives everything a little bit more space. It allows you to take in his posts in a very different way because of that space. It can make his profile feel and look different than another profile. And what I love about this is it's not a technique that takes a ton of effort to pull off. And when I say that, meaning I'm not asking you to like hire graphic designers and I'm not asking you to create all this type of content in this way and and do all this batching of work. This is where he took something very simplistic and turned it into this beautiful artistic flair. Turn this into something that really creates a more artistic feel and design to his post than just putting the content out there. And I really love it when people take that extra mile to do something different in their account so their account feels different. And I really believe this can make your account stand out. The other thing I really like about his account is that he showcases his culture. And what I mean by that is for many of us, we struggle with being ourselves on the screen. We struggle with showing who we are, what makes us who we are, what influences us, what inspires us. And I think his really profile gives you a glimpse into his world, into his life, and helps you see that what makes up a person often is all of these amazing experiences along the way, all these amazing influences along the way, all these amazing people that we meet, all these amazing people in our family, in our circle, our friends, our community. And I really enjoy his account because he is willing to share that with us. And I want to make sure that when you're thinking about your account, when you're thinking about ways to make your account unique and different and shine, is to not shy away from representing, from making sure that who you are and what makes you great and all the people and things around you are highlighted as well as the things you think you should do in Instagram, because that's what can happen. We do the things we think we should do, and we forget about how important it is to be real people and to be people who come from an amazing history of culture, blend of individuals, and a rich history of people who have all kind of pushed us and held us up to be what we are today. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is online and offline camera. Oh, excuse me, on camera and off camera. Let me just do a quick check. I know I've been talking, I went through a lot of slides so far. And I'm trying to get through them because I want to make sure I can give everyone, time for questions and so forth. But if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat if you're on social media. And if you're here with me in our Zoom session, feel free to drop it in the Zoom chat if you have any questions on any of the accounts I've talked about so far. And when I come into the Zoom session in the end, I can pull up many of these accounts. I think I left them all open. And we can walk through them. I can answer questions about them and so forth as well. Okay. So let's talk about on and off camera. I bring this up because for many people out there, when they're thinking about marketing, when they're thinking about social media, thinking about even marketing on your website, I have a lot of people who shy away from the camera, who really feel like there's so much pressure for them to be on camera that because of that pressure and also just lack of comfort level, that they opt out of doing things. They're like, well, I can't do reels because I don't want to be on screen. And what I want you to do is I want you to realize that there are many people who do very successful videos and they aren't on screen in those videos. Now, I love Iya's account because she does both. I mean, she's going to be on camera at times. Sometimes she's going to do voiceovers, and sometimes she's not going to be on camera. But I wanted to show you a mix because I want you to realize out there that you can be successful in your marketing and not 100% always be on camera, not always feel like you have to be the focal point of the video. The other thing I really like about her account is that not only does she have opportunities where she's spotlighting information, but she's also teaching the lifestyle. I think sometimes on a lot of these social media platforms, when we're doing a lot of marketing, we think we have to kind of be the role models or we have to be the people that look like they're like living this life that people are almost like in awe of. And people are almost like, I can't wait to live like that person lives. So, therefore, what you're showing on your social media account is so curated, is so polished that it doesn't feel like everyday life. It doesn't always feel obtainable. And what I love about her content is she shows you how she does what she does. She shows you what she's creating. She shows you how she shops and uses the Kroger app to order food and buy food and get discounts and coupons and things like that. And what happens is this creates a opportunity for people who are watching to act, to actually not just watch, but do something afterwards, but benefit from the content that's offered out there. So I want you to think about when you're creating content to not just create it so it looks beautiful and looks amazing, but create content that allows people to take a step closer to, that improving themselves, becoming vegan, being a stronger activist out there, whatever that journey you're teaching, I want to make sure that your content supports that. The other thing I love about her account is she has a very clear identity of who she is. She's a very clear identity of why she's vegan. She has a very clear perspective on what it means to her, and she explains it. I think for many of us, we struggle with explaining why we're vegan. Like we have these stories of like things that happened to us that created like a turning point moment for us to be vegan. And there's stories of like maybe something traumatic that happened or something shocking that happened, but we don't always get to the point where we're willing to share our story about what it means to us. Sometimes I think we keep that like really close at heart, or we don't spend the time to develop it, to understand what veganism means to you and not just what veganism kind of means as the general definition or going plant-based or being whole foods plant-based. We have all these titles out there. And I think at times we just take on the titles because we're like, yeah, that's kind of close to what I am and what I believe. And it's not that these labels are bad, but I do believe it's important that you speak to your audience and tell them why you are what you do, why you are the way you are, why you make choices that you make, and how you see yourself. So being more comfortable with the spotlight on you, but not just the spotlight because you do pretty and things that just look nice, but having the spotlight on you so that you can be a vehicle for education, I think is really a key thing to think about in your marketing. All right. The other thing I like is this is another brand. This is a brand I discovered really kind of earlier in this year, and I've been looking at a lot of their marketing. I've been really watching how they have kind of positioned their brand. And I really, really love brands that do integration. And what I mean by that, and especially for many of you out there, you may be watching this and being like, wait a minute, there's a lot of product brands. There's a lot of, YouTube brands. These are people who have cookbooks. These are people that have, who are doctors. And I know sometimes when you look at these, you're like, well, how can I use this stuff? Like, is this really, relevant to me? And the answer is absolutely yes. I'm trying to show you a variety of different brands for a couple of different reasons. I think sometimes when we look for inspiration, we get stuck and we think that inspiration has to come from someone who looks like 100% like us or is 100% in our brand or in our industry or does, almost the same thing that we do. And your inspiration should come from all different places. Your inspiration should come from product-based businesses. They should come from individuals who are doing different things because not only is your business going to expand over time, but many of these ideas are definitely apply to the service side of the business. They apply to the product side of the business. They apply to people who have a mix. And what I want you to take away, especially from this slide, is the fact that when you do offers, when you do promotions, and especially if my people out there have courses, it's just for a lot of my course brands, they didn't have any like active campaigns right now. So I couldn't pull in but too many examples of those because I love to pull things that are like active and not like months old and you can't see them if you go to their website. But this one I thought was a really good example because, we recently had a big sales event. Now, we're all kind of familiar with sales events like holiday-based specific sales events, whether in the US, it's 4th of July or it's New Year's or something like that. But there's also these events that pop up and become popular over time. And one of them is with Amazon. Amazon has this thing, Prime Day, which is basically like a Black Friday version 6 months early. But with a lot of people, they don't always feel like, how do I participate in these things? And what I love about what this brand has done is while this brand sells direct to customer on their website, and that's how I really discovered them and I buy the products from them, what they also do is they have their items on a site like Amazon. And then when there's a promotion like Prime Day, they promote that as well. The week before, they had a promotion on their own site that was a buy one, get one free offer. So what happens is people who are buying from their site, they got a promotion, and people who tend to buy their products on Amazon, they got a promotion as well. So I love this because what they've done is they've sat down and thought about their promotions. Now, obviously, I always make assumptions from a lot of these brands. I don't know all of these brands kind of personally, and I'm not involved with their marketing. I like to show examples of brands that I don't do their marketing for. But I love this because what they've done is they've said, hey, this is going on in the world. And let me put an offering out that matches it. Let me put out something that's timely so that when people are thinking about or in the mood to buy or thinking about buying, they're thinking about buying my product also. Also, I don't know if you've ever tried to shop on Amazon during big days like this. I find it's a nightmare personally because it's hard to find stuff. There's just too much stuff in the store. So when a brand that I already love, a brand that I already appreciate, and a brand that I already stock has a sale that's aligned with something else that's already on all the headlines, it will make it easier for me to purchase from this brand. And that's what you want to happen for you. You want to think about what are some of the holidays that are coming up? What are some of the buzzworthy events? A lot of people will even use social media holidays like Pi Day and I'm trying to think of another one. There was like National Ice Cream Day that just passed recently. So depending on what your brand is, look for what are some of these kind of special days and see if you can put a promotion or campaign around it. I don't want you to do all of them because it'll just drive you batty. It'd be too much going on. But think about that and think about what you can do. The other thing I like about the work that they do is brand integration. A lot of times when I see brands, they're not always branching out or they're trying to figure out how to expand. And one thing I really like about how she's done this is the brand itself is, jams. Now, they're really, really cool jams because as you can see, well, I don't know, the slide's kind of tiny here, but their items are like smoked yellow peach, they're blueberry, lemon, basil, strawberry, chipotle, fig. So they're very different flavor combinations for jams. So they're very unique. And then obviously being vegan. But what I thought was really clever that they've done is they also sell a product like a biscuit mix. So what happens is if you're a person that loves their jams and you're trying to figure out where and how to use their jams, then they're saying, "Hey, I have a product that you can buy, make it at home and put my jams on it." So that product and brand integration I think is so key. So when you think about your business and think about expansion, you don't always have to expand into 20 things. I don't expect them to have like I don't know their projections, but it doesn't mean they have to sell like everything under the sun that they're jam can be put on. But by selling one key item that people can purchase, people can make, and a way for a person to experience their product, they've created a brand integration. The other thing I like about this is they sell other things on their site as well. They sell aprons, which I think is another great integration. And what they also have is they have a digital download cookbook. And I love this, especially for my cookbook folks out there, that there's one of two things that you can do. Now, if you are a person that does a lot of cooking, you could partner with a brand and help and create a digital cookbook that they could use or could be downloaded. So I think that's a great kind of business model for you, just as a side note. But I also like how you're seeing a brand go from their signature product and offering to offering things that are aligned with their brand and support them. So, giving someone a cookbook so they can use their products, giving them an apron so they can wear it while they're actually cooking the items to use the product, giving them, a biscuit mix so they can make it, so they can use the product. And then the top corner, these are, reusable shopping bags. So, think about when you need to expand. How do you expand like this? And expand in a way where you don't have 20 options and you have all this inventory to manage. But what are those strategic points that allow you to integrate your brand, increase sales, and allow people to continue to enjoy your product and offering? Okay. All right. Other thing I love doing, and when I think about marketing and I think about marketing excellence, is publishing results. I think a lot of times when we think about our marketing, we think about telling people about our product, what it does, how it helps them. And yes, they need to understand that. But they also need to understand what people think of it. They also need to see examples of the results that they expect. And this is going to be very critical for a lot of my people out there that do coaching or do courses, do training. I'm just showing you a physical version of it from a skincare product, but the same thing applies there. You just have different options here. So if you're a fitness coach, you're going to show before and after of the people that you've trained or supported. Anyone who you've coached or helped them transition, you may show them a before and after of their pantry. Things like that. If you're teaching people different skills, you may show them before and after. After you taught them knife skills, if after you've taught them things. So the same thing applies. But this is an example of how they're doing it in email. I love to show email marketing because I really feel like email marketing is a great place to tell a full story. Social media can be a little bit noisy. Email can be noisy too, because we all get a lot of email and a lot of spam. But what I really love about this brand is that they often in their emails show and talk about results. They're doing surveys constantly. And this is something I think is a really unique technique that a lot of people use surveys to gather information, to know if people like their brand, like their product. But they forget that sharing that information with people makes sense. And I love how they have these are two separate emails I got at two different intervals, maybe, I don't know, a couple weeks or maybe a month apart. I can't remember the actual published dates. But I love here at the bottom, it says 90% said skin looks smoother. And I know it's too teeny tiny, and I'm actually going to get a little closer so I can read it. But it says based on 173 personal customer, 173 person consumer study after 4 weeks of use. So they basically did a study and asked what people said and then published it and shared it. Same thing here on the other email. It says 86% agreed product makes makeup look even better after 2 weeks of use based on a 131 person study. So the idea is that you don't have to have this huge study of thousands and thousands of people. You're just doing a survey and then publishing those results and helping people be aware of what they think of your products and services. And I think this is a great technique in email marketing. It can be actually done in social media too. It can be done on your website. It can be below or above your products as well. And I think it's something that you should be thinking about in your business or brand. I also like on the left-hand side how they do this seeing is believing, and they physically show you someone's skin before and after use. We don't always get to see this. We don't always look at it from this perspective. And I think that is great. The other thing I love about their brand is they have this line about skincare for all. And they also have a couple other things that I know are a little bit small in that bottom left corner of this, black box where they talk about, they're vegan, they're cruelty free, they're 3 generations of family formulas, they're responsibly made in California. They have this thing of like superfoods and science and this slogan about being like pro grade vegan, which I always think is pretty cool. But the skincare for all is one of those things that really sticks out for me. And the reason I bring that up is when I look at their emails, and I highly recommend subscribe to their email account, what you'll notice is the photos of people that they highlight and feature, the photos of people using their products. The individuals that are shown are such a, I don't know, to me, it's such a refreshing visual of who their customers are. Because often, many of us are using a lot of stock photos out there. So you see a lot of the same photos all the time. Or what happens is you start to see a photo of what is the like stereotypical A, B, and C kind of person, stereotypical, JKLF kind of person, or another person. And what happens is you feel like you're looking at people who are like representatives of a group. But what I think they do differently here is they show individuals that just look like individuals who use the product. They don't look like they're trying to represent a group or ethnic group or a type of person. They really look like these are just people who use the products. And the people are just in so many different, ethnicities, so many different looks and styles, and they don't look photoshopped to death. They don't look like individuals that are trying to be something as opposed to them just being them. And I think this is an example of a brand that knows their brand, that knows that they are about skincare for all. So therefore, their marketing has to show all, has to show people who represent that group, that reach, that openness. And I think they do such an amazing job of it. So if you're looking for a brand that does that well, I highly recommend you check this one out. All right. Next one is website experience. We've been talking about social media. I did a couple examples of email, and I want to talk about a website as well, because I think sometimes when we think about marketing, we can get compartmentalized. And I really feel like all of the marketing assets out there can truly be unique. They can truly be done in a way that makes something stand out. And I'm going to actually pull up their site if we have enough time to kind of show you, especially my Zoom folks. I'm going to pull up their whole site so you can see it. But on the left-hand side, I'm showing this brand. Now, almost all of their products are vegan. I think they have one product, D3, that isn't, or vitamin D that isn't. And I really wish they would just make that one product vegan, or products that have it in it vegan. But the majority of their products are vegan. And what I love about their website, what I love about this brand is they're like highly branded. There's oversized fonts, there's oversized images, there's graphics on the page. And often when you come to like an e-commerce site, they often look exactly the same. Like there's a photo on one side, there's a description on the other side, there's a button to buy, and maybe there's a video or something at the bottom, but it looks very templated. And I know for many of us, that's where we have to start. It's expensive to build sites, it's expensive to brand. But I want you to see something that would inspire you. I want you to look at your own website and say how much of your website allows you to express you and your brand. And I really feel like this website has taken that to a whole new level. I really love the way they place the product. especially in this example, how they have it in the middle. I love the amount of information you can get on the product above the fold without scrolling down. And then when you scroll down, unfortunately, I can only show you one screenshot here, but I'll show you on the site in a few minutes. They have all these additional kind of sections to their site. They have a section that shows like how it works. And I think for a lot of people, they forget how important it is to explain what the product is and how it works. Same thing is important when you sell a service. You have to explain how it works. What is that product? The other thing is they have a section for ingredients. They have this thing about the science. So they have this like tag that goes across the page. They also put in a little bit of education. They talk about kind of this thing about bacteria. And then they have, the additional products. They also talk about their kind of mantra, about, creating this like healthy kind of ecosystem between body, people, and planet. And all of that is on the page to sell the product. So therefore, it's not just about the sales, the price point, the basics. What they're doing is they're kind of curating a website experience that when you come to one of these pages, you get the full picture of the brand. All right. And then the last one I want to show you. Oh, I thought I was going to finish a little bit earlier. So sorry if some of you do have to go at the top of the hour. I completely understand. But I do want to show you just one last slide and then we'll stop. The other kind of organization I want to highlight is I want to highlight an organization that honestly, this is an organization that's been helping me a lot. I don't know if you've seen on my social media, I've been talking about my kind of challenges with sleep lately and so forth. And I'm getting better and better at it. But this really organization and individual behind the organization has really helped me. And what I also love is for many of us, we are activists at heart. Many of us are trying to, change the world and reimagine the world. And I think this kind of brand does an amazing job of doing that, of taking this kind of idea of a concept of how like important and liberating naps can be and showing you what that means and represents. So whether it's events, and I know it's a little hard to see, but like in the bottom of the grid, in the 9 grid in the middle, you can see people kind of like laying down on yoga mats. So a lot of times there'll be photos of events and activities that they're hosting, showing people how important it is to nap and physically having people nap and lay down. So, so we're not just talking about it, but physically engaging people in it. I love that she's doing speaking events. She's translate that into these cards that are kind of like inspirational kind of cards to help empower you in this process and apply what she's teaching. She's written a book, and actually more than one book. And if you're a person who's an author, if you're a person that teaches an idea or concept, I really love her style of doing it, because what she does is she pulls you in and teaches you how to use something like a nap as a way to take care of yourself, to protect yourself, as a way to express, resistance and defiance at times. And I think often when we think of brands and we think of ways to get our message out there, we often think about how to, make stuff happen, how to like push things forward. And I love that this is a different approach. This is more of a approach of how we reclaim who we are, how we reclaim what we do, and how we do activism in a different way. And I just really marvel at the way this is done through the NAP ministry. I really think their account just does an amazing job of inspiring and helping people and doing it in different ways. And I really think this is a brand that many of you should be looking at. And also, I think it's just amazing because it can help many of you um, that can help you understand, the path forward and how an individual can use, a marketing platform to help other people reimagine their world. All right. So those are the examples today. I ran out of time. So, definitely let's stay connected. Jump on LinkedIn. If you aren't following me so far, please, please, please follow, because we'll do some more content and more information like this. My folks in Zoom, hang tight for me for a few minutes, because I'm going to come over to Zoom and I am going to answer some questions. I'm going to come over to Zoom and really anything else that you want some clarity on from today's session, I will do that. Any of my folks who have joined me from social media and are watching this, please, 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 use some of these techniques, try some of these things, and let me know. What did you try? What did you test? What did you learn? How have you maybe been inspired by some of these accounts as well? So thank you, thank you, thank you for everyone who joined us today. I really hope there's been a little bit of a nugget and maybe even a few more that you walked away from that maybe inspired you personally, can inspire you from a marketing standpoint, and also show you brands that may not always be on those top 10 lists, but they are brands that really should be on the tips of all of our tongues. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much who joined us in our live broadcast. My folks in Zoom, I'm going to come over there for you in just a few minutes.